Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Andy Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And I'm very honored to introduce today's guest, Desmond Clark. Hi, Desmond.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing very, very well, Addie. I'm happy. I'm blessed. Business is good. Health is good. Family is good. So there's no reason why I shouldn't have a smile on my face.
Absolutely. Same here. And I would like to also, before we start, to mention our mutual connection, which is Dr. Jeremy Wise,
Yes,
from Rise 25, and they actually produce my podcast. And always a big shout out to Jeremy for the great connections and everything that he has done for my business, him and John Corcoran, the founders of Rise 25. And I told you before the show how much I love for my podcast and creating my podcast. And they definitely helped me make this dream a reality. So thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah, Jeremy is the man. He is.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Desmond, you played for the NFL for 12 years, and you actually went to the Super Bowl one time, which was very exciting, right?
Absolutely.
In that career. That's an amazing career. And now you're also a motivational speaker, but you also are the founder of Breakdown Logistics, which we're going to talk about, and you're going to explain a little bit more. And the conversation today is going to be about excellence, right? Because you identify the 5 keys to create a standard of excellence, not just excellence, but a standard of excellence. And you applied it to your career in sports, but also now to your career as an executive, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. And we're going to go over those 5 elements. But before we jump into it, I'd love to hear, and our listeners, I'm sure, love to hear about how did you end up in the NFL? And also after that, what happens after you left the NFL, and what are you doing now in terms of your businesses? So let's start with a little bit of an overview on that.
Yeah, so I started playing football when I was 6 years old. And that was always a dream when you're young, when you run around out on the football field, dreaming, hey, if one day I could play in the NFL. I could tell you it was never a goal of mine. It was nothing that I set out to do. But as I kept getting older and I kept playing and getting on different levels, going to high school and excelling in high school and getting a college scholarship and excelling in college. And then, before you know it, I had this opportunity that I could play in the NFL, and I got drafted by the Denver Broncos in 1999 and played for 12 years, 3 years in Denver, 1 year in Miami, 8 years in Chicago, where I finished my career at. But it was just one of those things. It was just a progression of just developing my skill and my talent over the time. But like I said, it was never a goal. It was just something that was, I just wanted to be good at what I was doing. And that goes back to that standard of excellence that we'll get into. But once I retired from the NFL, I did a few things. I went and first started in real estate, and then I got into being a financial advisor and really focusing on the insurance piece of that, and own my own insurance company for a short period of time before I decided I'm done with all of this. I want to go out and I want to do my passion, and became a full-time author, speaker, leadership, team development coach. And then I said, you know what? I can't duplicate myself. I can't scale myself. I better find a business that I can do that. And that's when I learned about logistics. And over the last 2 years, I've been building Bear Down Logistics while doing speaking and leadership team development coaching. So how to bring you up to speed.
Excellent. So what do you do in terms of logistics for businesses? What do you do there?
So we coordinate different size businesses, their shipment moving. Most businesses, a ton of businesses. I like to say this: 99% of everything that you see, touch, smell, hear, at one point was on a truck. And so we help those businesses move their products from point A to point B, whether that's, hey, sourcing the natural resources from across seas and bringing it to the shores here, or if it's just, hey, moving a truckload of water from a distribution center into a grocery store. Those are the things that we do. We put the customer, we connect that customer with a carrier, and bring those two together so we can get those products to where they need to go.
Beautiful. Okay, so definitely you have, you're walking the walk. I mean, you have experience in all aspects, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they all require excellence, right? In life, you have to have a standard of excellence, right? So let's go over those 5 keys. So first of all, tell us what the 5 keys are, and then we're going to break it down one by one.
Okay, so those 5 keys starts with number 1, your name and your word. That's where it all starts. That's the baseline for everything. That's how you build a trust. Number 2 is the power of relationships. If you want to do something big, if you want to do something that's really, really meaningful, impactful, you usually can't just do that on your own. You need a team of people, a community, to help you do those things. So that's the power of relationships. Number 3 is this. In my book, I call it a commitment to excellence, but I have since gone from that to say, hey, the process of greatness. And the process of greatness is executing the details in excellence consistently over time. With those simple things right there, anybody can be excellent. Number 4 is being self-motivated. A lot of us, we look at other people to set our bars. And it's not about looking at other people. It's about saying, hey, what do I want to accomplish? And saying, okay, where do I want to get to? Where am I at? And what are the steps I have to do to get there? And then number 5 is this. Have a passionate purpose. Have something that really gets you up in the morning. And everybody, your job may not get you up in the morning, but there's something about your day that you like. Most 99% of people don't go throughout their days without having something about their day that they enjoy. So we have to tap into those things because life is hard, and we need something to have us excited, have us looking forward to that day. So those are the 5 things.
Yeah, well, that's great. I'd actually like to start with number 5. I just read an article about somebody did a research about people that live in the blue zones, the ones that are living for 100 years or more. And, one of the common denominators is that they have a purpose, right? And I've seen it over and over again. I mean, if you lose your purpose, you lose everything. So what's your purpose? So
for me, it's all about, and this is a long conversation, but I'll break it down as short as I can. I come from a place where economically, we didn't have much. My father was addicted to drugs early on in my life, so that really damaged our family. But it was a community of people that was there for me, there for my family, that helped get us out of that situation, that poured into me specifically and helped me see that I can achieve something in my life. And I was able to go on and to do that, and I'm continuously trying to do that. So because of what those people did for me, my purpose is to help other people live their best lives through any resource or any resource that I have that I can give back to, not even give back, pay it forward to people to help them live the best lives. That's what I do as an entrepreneur within my overall goal of my business aspirations. The number 1 thing is to help the people that come in and work with me be successful. And if I can help those people be successful, then I can help my company be successful. As a speaker, I'm trying to bring greatness out of people because I believe that we all have greatness within us. It's just got to be nurtured. It's got to be nurtured with intention and attention. So for me, I'm trying to pay it forward to the people who I can positively impact, for the people to pay it back to the people who positively impacted me to do the things that I've been able to do.
Beautiful. Wow. You can hear the passion in your voice when you start talking about that. That's incredible.
Yeah. Life is incredible. Life is incredible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you have to be appreciative of it. And I really, I really can see how you appreciate that and you're grateful, which is incredible. It's the attitude, right? I mean, you have to have the right attitude.
Right. And here's the thing, when you talk about systems like you talk about, this can't be something that's kind of a vague concept in your head. Like I have a purpose statement that's on all of my stationery that is my navigational tool. This is just not something that's in my head. I have a purpose statement that I go by.
What's your purpose statement? Tell
so
us.
my purpose statement is with excellence being the standard. My purpose is to enhance the lives of others through any resource I have available to me with regard to my family, whom are primary. At every opportunity, transforming strangers and associates alike into extended family members.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And that's what I live by every day. Every interaction, every opportunity that I have, that's my guiding purpose of what I'm trying to get accomplished. And you know what? By doing that, now I still have to look out for me and my family, right? But by doing that, I still get to look out for my family. My 4 agents that work with me with Bear Down Logistics, I pour everything that I have into them to make them successful, because the more successful they are, the more successful I'm going to be. So it can all work all together. I'm not a guy that sits around and say, "Oh, I just want to do for other people," and hide from the fact that I also want to do for me too and my family. You know, they're primary.
There's nothing wrong
my
with it. I mean,
statement.
you absolutely should.
But the way that you can go about it, you don't have to neglect other people. You can help lift other people up too. And I feel like that's the best way to go about it. If I can help other people and also help myself at the same time, we all win.
100%. I agree. I agree. All right, let's go back to point number 1. So let's
Yes.
talk about point number 1.
So point number 1, well, let's start with this. So that whole system of excellence, that whole standard, right? I believe, first of all, people need to understand how to win, or the definition of winning. A lot of people think, "Oh man, I'm just going to win. It's going to come by." No, winning is hard. And the true definition of winning, when you go back to the origin of the word, is to gain and or succeed through struggle. Most of the people don't want the struggle. They just want the gain and to succeed. But when you start to lean into that struggle and understand this is the struggle, this is how I win, and you don't mind the struggle, you'll have more consistent wins. It's just like playing a football game. You got a defense on the other side of that field that you got to struggle against to score touchdowns. And that's the only way you win. So I see these 5 principles as a way that you can meet those struggles and overcome those struggles. And the first one, like we mentioned, is your word and your name. Understanding and defining what your word means to you. And like I say, defining it, writing it down, and understanding it, because once you understand what your name means to you, now you have that navigational tool, and you have to go out and you have to walk it and you have to live it. Now you don't get pulled from side to side with different things that may try to get you off of your path. You know what you stand for. You know who you are. So that way you can stand tall, you can stand proud, you can stand bold, and you can do the things and say the things that you need to say to keep moving forward. And then understanding what your word means too to people. When you give your word, that means something. But now once you understand that for yourself, now you can define what you want it to mean to other people. And so my purpose statement is part of what I want my name to mean to other people. And now, you know, I don't have to wonder about a lot of decisions that I need to make. They're already made for me because I've already defined what my name means to me and what I want it to mean to other people.
Absolutely. I can totally see that. Good. What's the next step?
The next one is the power of relationships. Nothing really significant can be done without help. We all need help. And I talk about those the power of relationships, and we hear this all the time in business. Oh, it's a relationship. You got to build relationships, but not a lot of times you have people define to you how to build a relationship.
Right.
What's the components of it? And so for me, I have a bunch of different components, but some of the more important ones for me is, first of all, always come into a relationship, want to add value, right? And how do you know that you're adding value? Well, I have to go to you, Addie, and say, okay, what's valuable to you? And I may not say it in those words, but during conversation, you know, I could decipher what's valuable to you. And now can I offer you that value? Can I do something that's valuable for you? Because the quickest way to become a person of value is to be a person that gives value. Because if I continuously give you value, Addie, I'm going to be a valuable person to you. And if I can do that consistently, then I'm going to be a valuable person to many.
But you also mentioned like a key thing is that you have to find out what's valuable for the other person, because otherwise you're preaching, you're giving advice that people don't want to hear, and then you become not valuable because people don't want to even have you. You're not going to build a relationship. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Turn you off really quick. And that's what a lot of people do. They think that's just because it's valuable to them or to me, it's valuable to everybody else. We all have like a similar value system, but we go about it differently.
Right.
We go about it differently, and we got to find out what those little nuances are. Another thing, especially in today's society, is be non-judgmental. If you want to build really significant, powerful relationships, we got to be non-judgmental and be more, what's the word that I'm looking for? Curious. Because you can have a different outlook on something than I have. And just because you have a different outlook, that doesn't necessarily mean that one of us are wrong. And what I like to do, like especially in my writing, I like to download my process with people and explain, hey, here's why I think about this certain way. And to ask someone, hey, I hear that you have this type of opinion about this. I'm just wondering, how did you come to that? Like what thought process made you come to that? And we may disagree on the conclusion, but I could disagree on your thought process and how you got there, because I probably learned something about you to understand. I see how she can have that type of conclusion to that. And it's probably 10 more, but just for the sake of the podcast, I'll just leave it at those two. No, I'll leave it. I'll give you one more. You always have to be encouraging and challenging, and that's a fine line. So for me, I know it's been people that not necessarily want to see me all the time because I'm challenging. I challenge people to be at their best, but I also encourage people to be at their best. So
is that what a coach would do, right? I mean, you would assume that that's what a coach would do. I mean, if they don't challenge you, you're not going to overcome those obstacles that you mentioned. And it's true. It's like, when I work out every morning, you get to a point where you go like, oh, I just want to quit, right? But then you have to push through because that's part of it, and you push through, and all of a sudden you go like, yes, then you feel much better, right?
Yeah. So
you always have to hit that point, because if you don't hit that point, you don't start sweating, and then it's not like, oh.
Right. And that's the challenger, the coach you took. I was just about to say that, and you took it right out of my mouth. So we're on the same
absolutely
path here.
Absolutely.
So the challenger is the coach, and the encourager is the cheerleader. So I'm gonna cheer you on, but I'm also coach you so you can meet that challenge.
Yeah, totally. Good. So that's point number 2. Let's go to point number 3.
Yeah. So hey, the process of greatness. If you want to be great at anything, you have to execute the details in excellence consistently over time. Execute just means finish the job. And finish the job by executing those small details, because like they say, the devil is in the details. And if we don't pay attention to the details, we make mistakes. But if we pay attention to the details, we can do a job that's really, really good. But can we do it in an excellent fashion and do it like that consistently? Some of us can do it some of the time. Some of us can do it a little bit at a time, but can we all do it the same way all the time? And if you do it that way over a duration of time, eventually somebody's going to come and say, man, Addie, she's a great podcaster because she's done it at such a high level for, 2, 3, 4 years or whatever that may be. And here's the thing. Greatness is an outside validation. And we can never stop and be like, oh, man, I achieved greatness. I'm there, because we're always in the process. It's for the people outside to put that on us and say, you know what, that person is great.
Absolutely. All right. Step number 4.
Step number 4 is self-motivation. So like I said, a lot of times we look at other people and say, all right, well, Addie is doing these numbers. So if I do, 70% of what she's doing, then I'm okay. Or this person is doing that amount. So if I do more than that they're doing, then I'm doing well. Well, it doesn't matter. It only matters of what you want to accomplish, and define that for yourself. And Addie, I tell people a lot of times, I think that's the only reason I didn't make it to a Pro Bowl, because when I was asked that question my rookie year, I said, I want to be a starter in the NFL. That's where I set it at. And every day, that's what I practice to be, a starter. And once I got done playing in the NFL, I relived some of those moments. I was like, dang, way back in my rookie year, I only said I wanted to be a starter. I achieved that, but I didn't achieve anything above that. And that's nothing to sneeze at, but I just go back and I say, if I would have told myself I wanted to be a Pro Bowler, would I have gotten to that level?
You know, you're absolutely right, because I've seen it, and it's so true. Because if you set, I mean, you have to set goals, right? But when you achieve it, it's so important to actually motivate yourself to achieve the next one. Let's say you go, okay, I want to have my best year in business, and you had it, but then what? You know, you
Right.
have to set the next one. And that's what I observe that really successful people do, is they set the next goal and the next one and the next one, but it comes within themselves, not necessarily. I mean, that can be competitive. I'm sure, you know, you are definitely probably competitive, otherwise you won't be able to play. And you always want to also see what's out there, but it has to come within you, that motivation, that fire, that like, let's achieve the next one, and not just be complacent and go, okay, I achieved what I want, and then that's it, right?
Right. And I've learned to have goals as milestones, not as finish lines.
Yeah, that's a very important one, because otherwise you kind of like, the game is over, and then what? And life becomes boring, and then people resort to all kind of things that, you know, just like don't get them out off the right path, right?
Right, exactly.
Interesting. Wow. Desmond, this has been like an amazing conversation, so inspirational. So if people want to, so you have a book about it, right?
Yes.
What's the name of the book?
So the name of the book, I got it right here. Principles of Winning, 5 Keys to Create a Standard of Excellence. And you can go and get it off of Amazon, like you can get everything else.
That's right. So when you're shopping, just absolutely get the book. And if they want to hear more about what you do, or get like the Bear Down Logistics, the insurance, like how do they get a hold of you? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I'm very easy to get a hold of, social media wise. Instagram at Des Clark, DEZCLARK 88. But the best place, if you want to consume my content, get in contact with me, is on LinkedIn. That's where I love to be, because most of my interactions and most of my dealings and relationships are with professionals like yourself, and that's where they're at, on LinkedIn. So Desmond Clark 88 on LinkedIn. So website is Des Clark Speaks, DEZ ClarkSpeaks.com. And I'm out there, I'm everywhere, and not hard to reach. I love to have conversations with people and break down, hey, what makes you good at what you do, so I can learn something also.
Absolutely. Wow, Desmond, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. This has been very inspirational. You definitely, I mean, you live your purpose. You know, I definitely ended up this podcast much more cheerful than when we started, because of all this that information and that inspiration. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And thank you for having me on also.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.